Hey everyone, this is T-Ray from H10 Hanshin Tigers English News coming at you live, although you're seeing this in retrospect. It is me, T-Ray. It is he, Sanjay over there. How you doing, brother?
Aloha, brother T-Ray. I'm fine. How are you?
Always good to see you and good to talk to you. When we're talking, it usually means that there's something going on in the Hanshin Tigers world, and that's a good thing for both of us.
That's a great thing.
Indeed. So, we just finished recording episode 166 of the podcast, and it featured an interview with Kyle Keller. So I think on my list of Tigers that I have met and spoken with, he would be maybe I'm just going to look this up right now because I've made a list of all the guys that I've talked to. He's number 18. I've talked to 18, I guess 19 if you include BK, whom I've done some direct messaging with.
Wow, that's a good number.
It is. It's pretty crazy that I've been able to talk to that many of them. Most of them, I've been able to interview. And a lot of the ones that I haven't been able to interview, they've agreed to interview with me, and we just haven't gotten around to it. So there's still hope that there's going to be more.
More to come, huh?
Yes. So I get this privilege of doing all these interviews and talking to all these guys as though I'm somebody. And I'm not, but I like to pretend that I am. And so if you are a patron of mine, and the link is down in the show notes for Patreon, I'm starting to record some kind of, I guess, anecdotes or whatever, reminiscing about how I met or got to know or got in contact with some of these players, especially the more interesting talks. Like, it's not so interesting that, oh, well, I found Jason Rogers on Twitter and I texted him and he texted me back, the end. But some of them actually have some interesting, backstories to them and stuff like that. So I've been posting them up there just so people can kind of hear a little bit more background on how I got to know some of these guys. And on today's post-show show, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I got to having a column with Daily Sports. So I have been writing a monthly sports column in Daily Sports Online, which is kind of a major sports paper here in the Kansai region, for coming up on 5 years. I started it in April of 2018, man. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Yeah. So I've been a Japanese sports writer, however part-time it might be, for almost 5 years. How did this all come about? It's kind of an interesting story, at least if you ask me. So back in 2016, I think it was, I wanted a new logo for H10, and I made a contest. I said, hey, someone design a logo for me. And I got this mysterious email from someone who said, like, wow, this is the moment I've been waiting for. And I'd never heard from this guy before. And it was just a random email. So I was like, oh, maybe this is spam. Well, turns out it wasn't spam. This guy is the CEO of a company called Rockcore. And one of my daily sports columns actually talks about him. So I'm not going to go into too much depth. You might have read this on H10 in English as well. But his PR company, when they do business in Japan, is the same PR company as the Bay Stars use. So he told his PR guy, look, there's this cool guy in Kobe who covers the Tigers in English. You guys need to try to figure out a way to give him some press. So the PR company in Yokohama contacted Daily Sports, and they kind of basically dispatched one of their writers, kind of a freelance writer, to come and interview me. This was November of 2017. And this guy has turned out to be a really great connection / friend to me. I still talk to him to this day, but he actually introduced me to Daily Sports and to an editor there and said, hey, you need to give this guy a column. So they gave me the column that started in April. And initially it was supposed to be a 6-month deal. The parameters of the rules were talk about your experience as a foreign fan of the Hanshin Tigers or of Japanese baseball. What are some of your points of view that are interesting or different from what a typical fan might have? And that was kind of the crux of it. And the thinking was, this is going to be a 6-column deal, and then it'll be done. But I'll be able to say that I was a sports writer once upon a time, until the day I die. Well, six entries has now amassed to 63. And I'm now trying to find number 64 in my mind. And this is where you come in, Sanjay, because I need your help. Actually, I need everybody's help, to be honest with you. What do I write about? I feel like, especially in the off season, where there's not much going on in the news for Tigers, there's not much going on the field for the Tigers, and as a fan, which is the whole purpose of my column, there's not much going on in my world either, because I don't just sit around and watch them on Toratere, or I'm not following the Tigers 24/7 in February of any given year. So like, what do I write about, man? I don't know. Do you have any kind of ideas of stuff that might make interesting columns? And if you throw some ideas at me, I'll find a way to either try it out or reason with you as to why I can't do it.
Or just shoot it down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm just riffing off the top of my head right now, but it is February, and next month is the World Baseball Classic. I don't know if that's like an obvious one for Gaijin to talk about it. And
Mm,
the reason I say that is because I was getting excited about it myself personally.
mm,
And I was looking for all kinds of connections, guys that went to my alma mater who were playing for other teams around the world and so on.
uh-huh.
And then I'm telling my friends, and they're like, "Oh, we don't care." And these are the US guys.
Right.
So, and that was not the message I was getting from MLB when they were going out and saying this is going to be our most exciting, it's going to be most buy-in by the MLB players. They all want to play, all the big names are going. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy between what I guess the bureaucracy wants and what the fans are feeling just yet. And I don't know if because in Japan it's a big deal, right? Everybody's talking about WBC.
Huge, huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a bit of a temperature differential, shall we say, and maybe you can kind of try and figure out why or why not, or maybe this year is going to be the catalyst that changes it along or something. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, and even that's a really interesting idea, actually, because as a Canadian living in Japan, who is not Japanese and who probably never will be Japanese, Um, do I invest in cheering for Japan or not? Not out of meanness for not cheering for them or anything, but they're not my country in a
Hmm.
way, right?
Yep.
And Canada is in the WBC,
Yes.
and there's nothing stopping me from cheering for two teams. Like I can cheer for Canada and Japan because
Oh, of course. Yeah.
odds are they're not both going to make it to the finals, and even if they do, well, then it's an obvious choice. I'll cheer for Canada. But um, yeah, like what is it like as a foreigner to live in Japan and cheer for a team that is kind of your host country in a sense? Now,
Hmm.
it's interesting because, there are foreigners living in Japan who love cheering for Japan, and they've basically adopted Japan as their team. There are foreigners living abroad who have adopted Japan as their team. There are
Hmm.
foreigners in Japan who have said, I am not cheering for Japan. And why is that? And I've actually talked to some of my university classes about this. And I think it's kind of a controversial topic, but it might make an interesting column. That's a good idea. Thanks. I actually might take that and run with it.
Go for it, man.
Yeah.
And just so you know, one of the guys from my alma mater is
Mhm.
actually playing for Team Canada, Cal Quantrill.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. And actually, our friends of H10 in a sense, or foe of H10 in a sense, Scott Matheson is actually on the team as well.
Oh, nice.
Former
Both
Yomiuri
pitchers.
Giant.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I think Freddie Freeman is also on Team Canada.
There you go.
So we do
So
have a
Team
couple big
Canada
names.
stacked.
Loaded. Lookout world. Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting though. Do you okay, well, let's talk about this just briefly then, because I don't think we've touched on this, and we missed talking about this on episode 166. So Nakano and Yuasa are no longer practicing with the Hanshin Tigers, at least for the next few weeks, because they have joined Samurai Japan. um
Yes.
Thoughts on their roles on this team? Because Nakano, let's face it, he is not going to be a starter unless there's some sort of injury, or if Genda goes into some real slump, goes into a slump.
Yeah, I think both those guys are going to be coming off the bench, and probably rightly so, given their, as much as anything else, their salaries. They're not the high earners that the others are. So I think that that's probably accurate and probably fair. Nakano's going to be a pinch runner slash defensive replacement to shore up defense when as necessary.
Mhm.
And Yuasa is probably going to be middle relief, even though I think between Kuriyama, the Team Japan manager, and Okada, they did talk about maybe if he's really, really good, he might even be the closer. So we shall
Right.
see.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about WBC as well is that there's these pitch limits on the players, and so we have we Team Japan has 6 or 7 legit starters, right? I mean the big four are Darvish, Sasaki, Yamamoto, and Otani, but then you can throw in also Imanaga, Ito, Togo, and there might even be one more. So there's like 7 or 8 legit starters. Plus, you look at the bullpen, you've got Taisei Ota or just Taisei, and you've got Kuribayashi as kind of your lockdown guys at the end.
De facto closers, yeah.
Not to mention Yuki Matsui is on the team as well, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, those are kind of your tried and the tested guys that are probably going to get those last 3 innings in high leverage situations. So yeah, I mean, Yuasa, as good as he is, may be relegated to just not mop up because I don't know if Japan's ever going to lose, but he might come in the middle of innings, even for that matter, let alone in the middle of the game. So that said, then what can these two guys take away from this experience? Is there something for them to gain that they can bring into the 2023 season?
Totally. And I say that because we've seen that with players like Umeno and gosh, I'm
Iwazaki
Aoyagi,
and Aoyagi?
Iwazaki, yeah, all those guys. The fact that they were on that stage playing against that kind of competition with those kind of teammates can only yield positive benefits to positive results to all the players as something under their belt. They'll feel like they belong. They'll feel like, they've been there, done that, and nothing's too big for them.
When I think too, like coming back from that experience to be able to share it with the rest of the teammates and actually kind of take a little bit more of a leadership role to say, look, like I repped Japan and now I'm kind of repping Hanshin. And I'm not just one guy. I mean, they are just one guy, but at the same time, they're like, you know what? Nakano can actually be the infield leader in a sense. He can kind of, even though he's not the captain, he can kind of take on a little bit more of a leadership role and say, look, like I've been there. I've been in these high leverage situations. There's no reason to panic, or this is one of our ways to get out of it, or whatever it might be. And you
Yeah.
ask that same thing.
Yeah.
Like I've been part of the best bullpen in the world, and now I'm coming back to the best bullpen in Japan, and this is how we're going to get things done as Team Hanshin in 2023.
And they'll have a lot of street cred too.
Yeah.
Amongst their teammates.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes down as well. Just to kind of give people the heads up, I think most people know this already, but Samurai Japan is having a couple of friendly games against the SoftBank Hawks in Miyazaki in this month. And then after that, they're going to be playing in Nagoya for a couple of games. Then they face the Tigers and the Buffaloes at Kyocera Dome in early March before they actually start their play in their pool against China, Korea, Czech Republic, Australia, I think is the order.
Okay. And Korea is going to have another of my alma mater guys as well. So,
oh, really?
yeah, Tommy Edman from the Cardinals is going to be playing. He's half Korean.
Okay. And he went to your
He went to my alma mater, as did.
nice.
The other one is Yu Darvish's teammate, Haslin Kim, is this his name? The shortstop for the Padres is also on the Team Korea. So they got a couple of major leaguers there.
It is going to be interesting to see how they fare. And I don't know. I mean, everyone is talking about, Japan is going to blow through their pool and, finish in first, hands down, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the odds of them not getting out of the pool are so slim that, I mean, it would send ripples around the whole baseball world, shockwaves for that matter, if they don't. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting because, it does come down to pitchers and their conditioning and how they feel. I mean,
Yeah.
if, for example, like, I don't know, like Sasaki just throws up a lame, a lame outing. I mean, that could result in something. Or, one of the relievers doesn't come through and the other team gets a big inning somehow, whatever. But I do feel like Japan is definitely the favorites to make it at least to the semis, if not to the finals, in 2023. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, in a weird way, I kind of don't envy the pitching coach slash Kuriyama their jobs because the expectations are set so high, the bar is set so high. You
Mhm.
know, to take your example, say Sasaki doesn't have a good first inning. When do you take the guy out? And
Yeah.
you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure. The eyes of the world, and man, the Japanese media is going to scrutinize every move
Oh yeah.
extra, yeah, like more than they usually do. So it'll definitely be something you don't want to take your eyes off of this spring, everybody. Well, Sanjay, I was hoping to do some brainstorming about some column ideas, but your first idea was so good that we just kind of took it from there, and
Woohoo!
we're gonna run with it. So that is it for now for this talk, the post show. We are hoping to give you some more good post show shows, some good stuff on Patreon. As I said, I've talked a little bit about how I met some of these players of the Hanshin Tigers, and just keep following us on your socials and keep rooting for the Hanshin Tigers, no matter what part of the world you are tuning in from. Feel free to drop a comment, subscribe to this channel. I don't know, hit the bell, whatever, do all the good stuff you know that you need to do to stay on top of things. So let's go, Hanshin Tigers. Are, onegai shimasu.
あれやで、あれ。頑張れ、阪神。
Yeah.